Chapter 17. Reaping and Healing. Darkness fell. The thought pondering inside the boy's head was, mistake. I made a big mistake at the crossroads, not listening to the fox. He passed out, and from somewhere in the inner depths of his consciousness came a stirring, a movement. It prodded and guided the boy through the jumble and confusion of his mind. From the blackness in his mind he heard the Commodore of Lies ask, "Are you having a good time, boy?" He heard the wolves yelping. Then he heard a little voice say, "You must go back to the crossroads, boy. You must go back to the place where you went wrong." Waking, that last thought energized him. He found he could raise his head, but when he tried to lift his shoulders and arms from the cactus, pain darted through every muscle in his body. He heard another voice say, "You can't do it, boy. You can't do it. Just lie there and die." Then he heard the voice of Bartram gently say, "There are lies that you have believed, that you continue to believe, that stop you from doing things." The boy realized that the voice saying, "You can't do it," was indeed a lie. So he willed himself to make it to his hands and knees. He forced each muscle in his body to move, despite the incredible pain. He swayed back and forth, and his head swam with a dizziness he had never known. The boy had to consciously make each muscle work, one at a time. He started groping back up the hill, and he thought how ironic that this way, the way he had chosen because it was downhill, was so steep going back up. His hand passed over a round stone the size of a $50. He clutched the stone, and when the inner voice yelled at him to give up, he squeezed the stone even tighter. And his word courage empowered him to movement. His body was covered with blood and dirt. Despite his pain and agony, at one point the boy got up. He staggered. He had no strength left to ask of his muscles. So on his knees again, the boy decided not to give in to his fears. Time after time, he struggled to put one hand in front of the other. He was plagued by feelings of despair and helplessness. He felt that he had been beaten, forsaken, and left so alone. He told himself, "I've got to shake this off. This is not the way." Yet the feeling kept coming back. He was shaken and delusioned. His body was ripped and torn. More depressing than any of that was the fact that the fox was gone because of his mistake. He felt his anguish was more than any human being could take. He heard screaming inside his head. His ears rung piercingly. The blood throbbed and pulsed through his veins. He lifted his head from the dusty ground, but the horizon in front of him spun and wavered. His dizziness increased. Somewhere from inside his head, that little voice kept saying, "You've got to make it, boy." So he kept moving, a little at a time. The path was uphill and so hard, yet his body did as he willed, with the help of the little voice. Because his eyes were so blurry, he couldn't see more than 2 feet beyond his hand. His eyes burned and watered, then went dry. They felt like empty sockets. Every second he became aware of a new scratch or bruise. His mouth was dry and his tongue swollen. His throat ached, and he nearly choked as he tried to breathe. The environment and his body seemed to be against him, but he knew that he had to get back to the point where he went wrong. So on he crawled, inches at a time. He put out his tongue to lick his cracked, parched lips, but he couldn't make his jaw muscles work anymore. Flies swarmed around him and crawled over his eyes and lips and into his nose. He didn't have the strength to shake them off. In fact, it didn't even matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was making it back to the crossroads. He realized that he would die in this place. He could, and no one would even know what happened. What a horrible end, he thought. By now, the pain was so great the boy felt he couldn't struggle any more. Am I going mad? He thought. What's wrong with me? His head swam. Images raced through his mind and he began to lose control. Blackness came and went, and came again. And then he looked up, and he saw the cactus that stood at the crossroads, where the fox had tried to tell him to come back. How he made it there, the boy couldn't tell. He mustered enough energy to pull himself up into a standing position. He put his hand in between several spikes on the cactus and leaned his weight against it. He tilted his head back to look at the top of the cactus, which seemed to be hundreds of feet tall. At its top was the thing the fox had seen and had tried so desperately to point out. It seems like a long time ago, thought the boy. The boy saw carved in the cactus the words, "Decision time," and below that was written, "Triple peaks, uphill." With his last bit of energy, the boy let go of the cactus to start up the trail to the left. But he had no more strength. His body did not respond to his will, but instead collapsed towards the earth. His head pounded into the dust. The boy, landing face down, lay crumpled in the dust, unconscious. Every inch of his body was bruised and cut, and dirt caked over his wounds. He lay in this miserable condition while the night passed into early dawn. Then, as the first rays of sunlight reached out to his battered body, so also did two strong arms reach under him and lift him from the ground. Though the boy appeared lifeless, the stranger who picked him up spoke comfortingly. "Rest, my son. You'll be all right. I'll see to it." The stone the boy had held in his hand fell to the ground, but the stranger picked it up and slipped it into his pocket. The air was chilly, and the boy shivered as he lay in the stranger's arms. The rhythmic movement of the stranger's stride gently stirred the boy to consciousness. Still having so little strength in his body, the only movement he made was to force open his eyes just a crack. The boy saw he was being carried by a man who gave him a kindly smile. The face of the stranger was tanned and leathery, seasoned by the weather. He was not overly muscular, but sinewy and iron strong. He looked as though he had been outdoors all his life, and indeed he had, for he had travelled throughout both the earth and the cosmos. When the stranger saw that the boy was trying to move, he consoled him. "Relax, boy. I will take care of you now." With that, the boy closed his eyes and drifted into a deep sleep. The stranger crossed over hills, over forested plains, and through many valleys. The boy had no idea how far they had travelled, or for how long, when he awoke to hear Bartram's familiar voice ask, "Oh dear, is he all right?" The traveller replied, "As I was making my way early this morning, I found him lying in the dust at the crossroads of Aurora's Way. It appeared as though he had crawled a long way to get there. You know, I never travel down to Venoma unless I am on a mission. If the boy had been on that trail, I never would have spotted him. For I am on a trek to the fountain of the gem of the first water. He was lucky to have made it to the crossroads." "Lucky?" Bartram blurted out. "Luck has nothing to do with anything." With that exclamation, he called for his wife, Laurel. Then he went on to tell the Lumberg that his services would be needed on the boy's adventure. As soon as Laurel came into the room, she saw that the boy was in pitiful shape. She touched the boy's forehead softly and said, "Oh, the poor dear. Let me fix him a place to lay him." She scurried from room to room, preparing a bed. The boy looked around through his swollen eyelids as best he could. and he recognised the inside of Bartram's den. He saw the tiny twinkling lights that were always there. When the bed was ready, the stranger carried the boy over to it and lay him down gently. Laurel said, "Oh my, he's sick unto death, Bartram. Look at the welts all over his body, and there's poison from each one of those cactus prickles. Oh, I don't know what we shall do." Bartram turned to the traveller. "Lumberg, you must go for help." Still looking through the cracks in his eyelids, the boy noted Lumberg's tall body silhouetted against the window, his wispy hair and his cloak, which was slung over his left shoulder. Lumberg, looking concerned, asked, "Well, is there anyone who can complete his mission for him, Bartram?" "No, it's his mission. You must go and bring back sweet Pauline." "I'm off," said Lumberg, and with a flick of his coat he turned, ducked his head, and was gone, almost magically. Closing his eyes now, the boy felt Laurel cleaning his face. His wounds were open and infected. With each wipe of the cloth, pain shot through the body. He lay quietly as she cleaned the dirt that had caked his wounds. He was soon overcome by fever, and his condition worsened, and he became delirious. He screamed things that made Bartram and Laurel immensely concerned. I can't do it. I'm so ugly. I'm so stupid. They said I was. No one cares for me. No one loves me. No one has time for me." He tossed and he turned and he thrashed about in the bed, and with each toss he would break open his wounds. He lay on the sheets in his blood and sweat and deliriously screamed, "I hate myself. I hate myself. Life's not fair. I'm a loser." Bartram recorded these deep beliefs on a leather parchment. "When he gets well, we will talk with him." The day passed, and then another, as the boy lay in delirium, screaming and thrashing about. Laurel tried her best to keep him cool and to keep his wounds clean. Bartram watched anxiously for Lumberg to return with sweet Pauline. At sunrise on the third day they arrived. "Oh, my," sweet Pauline said as she entered the room and saw the boy's condition. She said things to the boy that he could barely comprehend through his delirium. She began to order Laurel and Bartram about. "Get me some onions, and get me some cloves. Oh, I'll need garlic and some mud poultices. And oh, dear, get me all the herbs you can. Oh, hurry. We have so little time." She moved quickly about the boy, tending to his needs. Hearing her voice, he tried to open his eyes. Through the haze that seemed to cover them now, he saw rushing about the room someone who reminded him of a fairy godmother. She embodied nobility, gentleness, and, as her name stated, sweetness. Although she rushed around, she did not cause him confusion or anxiety or worry. She was simply doing her best to get done what needed to be done for his sake. Her efficiency permeated the room, and the boy felt a calmness with her there. Sweet Pauline had golden hair that was neatly kept in place on top of her head. As she bustled about, she never seemed to grow tired. In fact, there was almost a magical quality about her, something that indicated that she was more than human. Sweet Pauline glided about the room, moving with grace and ease. Her movements were always delicate and precise. She had a fairy-like glow about her, which often left even Laurel wondering. She kept Laurel busy getting the herbs and spices, harvesting them from their wonderful garden. Sweet Pauline chopped up the onion, wrapped it in cheesecloth, and laid it on the boy's chest. She strung the garlic into a necklace and wrapped it around the boy's neck. With each of the herbs and spices, she made something medicinal for the boy. She made mud packs. She made plasters by crushing the herbs and mixing them with honey to make a paste. She carefully applied the plasters to the boy's open wounds. She quietly remarked to Laurel that the boy had lost a lot of blood and was near the point of death. Using all of the herbs, Sweet Pauline soon brought cool, soothing relief to the boy's entire body. Sweet Pauline also seemed to be praying silently as she hurried to make the healing potions for the boy, and the boy felt the healing within. In the middle of it all, Bartram came and asked Sweet Pauline, "Will he make it?" "I don't know, Bartram. I just don't know." The boy, still too delirious to understand their quiet exchanges, nevertheless felt their concern. Day by day, Sweet Pauline, Bartram and Laurel continued to remake the poultices and plasters and put fresh garlic and herbs all around the boy and his wounds. Lumberg waited outside and periodically inquired about the boy's progress. One day, the boy regained some of his strength and was able to lift his head. The next day, he was able to speak. Sweet Pauline began to make some soups to put nourishment back into the boy's body. Slowly, he continued to build his strength, improving each new day. Sweet Pauline made an effervescent soup of deep purple from the leaves of the mending tree. The boy no sooner swallowed it than he felt it begin to energize him. One day he looked up into the face of Sweet Pauline and said, I can't make it to the Triple Peaks. I just can't." Sweet Pauline looked at the boy and said, "You're right, boy. You can't." The boy was so surprised and confused by this answer that all he could say was, "What?" Sweet Pauline repeated, "If you say you can't make it, then yes, you're right. You won't." The boy's expression showed worry and frustration. "Don't agree with me. Tell me I can make it." "My son, I've been through the same thing. When they called me from across the cosmos, I said to myself, I can't heal that boy." "You were pretty far gone," I said. "Send Teresa. I don't want to fail. Send Teresa instead." But they told me I was the one who had to come, and so I did. And now look at you. You've done good work. Wouldn't you agree? I've done good work, and you're getting well. But remember, when you tell yourself that you can't make it, you won't. It's as simple as that. She patted him softly on the cheek and then glided out of the room. The boy pondered her words. Day after day, the three adults ministered to the boy, and he noticed many things he had not noticed while he was sick. Out his window was a garden full of flowers. Just outside the garden, the traveller stood admiring one of those sunsets that command attention. The boy wondered about the stranger, and when Sweet Pauline entered his room, he asked her, "Who is he? What's he doing out there?" She answered, "That's Lumberg, the traveller. He's the man who brought you here." The boy vaguely remembered being carried. He repeated his second question to Sweet Pauline. "Well, why is he waiting there?" "He's waiting for you." "Why?" "You lost your belt, and only you can get it back." "But the worm has it," replied the boy. "You're right, he does, and you have to get it back. The traveller has much to show you." She continued to care for him day after day. He liked her, but she sometimes said things that he did not understand. "Pretty is as pretty does," she said one day. The boy wondered about her. Who is she? And what is the meaning of the things she says? He always ate whatever she made him, such as spice salad and wonderment jelly. One day, as he was sipping the deep purple soup, he said to her, "I'm afraid to go on, sweet Pauline. I'm so afraid." Sweet Pauline replied, "Well then, don't go." That was not what he wanted to hear. "But I kind of want to, you know. The adventure, the feeling of doing something important makes me feel good." As his strength increased, the two talked daily. The boy felt closeness and trust developing between them. One day, sweet Pauline said to him, "My son, Lumberg will leave soon, and if you're not ready to go with him, he will leave without you. So you must make yourself strong. He's here to take you across the land of confusion, but he won't take you if you're not fit." So the boy, now that he had regained most of his strength, began to go outside and exercise. He did push-ups and ran, eventually going for miles throughout the forest. He became stronger and stronger every day, and as the boy progressed, Lumberg observed from his lookout rock. One day, as the boy was doing push-ups in the garden, Bartram joined him. "Hey, Bartram," said the boy, "how come when I was at the end of the rainbow stairs and I found all of those things that I had before, you know, the key, the rock, and the little bracelet, how come I couldn't take the silver chalice too? Isn't that what I'm supposed to be getting?" "Yes, it is," said Bartram. "Well then, why couldn't I just take it with me?" "Ah, it's not for you to take. Not now. Not at this time in this journey. Boy, listen. Everything has its own perfect timing. There's a time to take and a time to give. There's a time to use and a time to save. This, my friend, is something that everyone learns, usually in a hard way. Knowing when it's the right time to do something is called discernment. When you found the silver chalice, it wasn't the right time. Eventually, you will need to use it, and it will be there for you at that time." The boy thought about this for a long while. He didn't really understand, but he had learned that Bartram was indeed a wise old man and someone to be trusted. So he put his question off, figuring the answer would come in the future. Bartram said, "You'll see lots of people along your journey, and you will be the one who will provide hope for them. Just remember that, with hope, there comes new behaviour. But, boy, there's something else of importance that I must speak to you about." Bartram had spoken seriously to the boy before, so he knew he must pay close attention in order to completely understand his friend's words. Bartram gestured to a corner by the fence and said, "Look here, what do you see?" The boy looked where Bartram was pointing. "I see weeds." "What do you see, boy?" Bartram commanded. "I see weeds," the boy responded again. "Look closer," Bartram insisted. "Hey, there's a flower in the weeds." Bartram, in a somewhat forceful voice, commanded, "Pull out the weeds." The boy did it as he was instructed. When he had finished, Bartram was still sitting beside the flowers. "Good," he encouraged. "Now, tell me, boy, how does it look to you?" "Much better," the boy said. "I can see the beauty of the flower now." Bartram smiled. Then, looking far off, he inquired, "Boy, you said some things days ago. Do you remember them?" "Do you mean when I was with fever lying on the bed?"
Yes, boy. Do you remember them?
Not wanting to confront those painful emotions, the boy didn't say anything for a while. Then, seeing that Bartram was waiting for an answer, he took a slow, deep breath and replied, I said I'm ugly and I'm stupid. Then he took another deep breath, sighed and continued, and I am. He looked away. Bartram looked down at the ground, shook his head slowly from side to side, looked up at the boy with a furrowed brow and said,
Son, look at me. Those are lies. Those are the Commodore's lies. If you believe those things, then they will come true. Yet, if you believe there's more to yourself, if you believe there is more to your life than just that, then you will open a whole world of possibilities, my friend. Those weeds that were around the flower, they are like those lies that you carry in your life. What happens when you pull them out?
Avoiding Bartram's question, the boy said, When I was in school, Bartram, they asked me to read. I remember. I'll never forget it. I didn't know how to read very well. I made mistakes, and this girl that I liked so much made fun of me, and she called me stupid. I'll never forget it. Bartram put his arm around the boy's shoulder and said comfortingly,
What's past is past, my friend.
The boy told Bartram story after story about times when he had been called ugly by people he cared for, and about times he was made to feel stupid. After each story, Bartram said,
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
When the boy was through, Bartram said,
You can believe in the lies if you want to, but I'm going to give you permission to pull those out like you did those weeds with the flower. Pull them out and throw them away, so what's left, the real beauty in your life, can be seen.
Bartram rose to his feet, smiling, and he pointed his crooked finger at the boy and said,
You are ready for Lomberg. You are ready for the wilderness.
The boy spent the rest of the afternoon exercising and thinking about all the things Bartram had taught him. He worked at making himself stronger so that he wouldn't fall behind when the traveller decided to leave. As evening fell, the boy looked around the den. He took in all the beauty, peace, and tranquillity of the lodge. He took one last walk through Bartram's garden. The thing that stood out the most among all the beauty of the garden was one little flower standing alone in the corner.